excited about that one. There's a grow.
In Michigan. So I think the grow and the MIP are separate buildings.
Yes.
But they are going to be like kind of coinciding together.
Okay.
Operating together.
Okay. Yeah. Just supplying each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. So about the product line, one of the things that a lot of people ask about as far as like infused joints is like, how do we get that process now? Excuse me. We have joints that are not just infused with either 25% distillate or 25% live resin, but we also have the terpene line. So how do you infuse these products and still guarantee like a clean product?
Terpenes are definitely a little bit of you can get into some sketchy areas.
Yeah.
We even have the health department coming in here and asking questions about, where we get our terpenes from and whether they're FDA approved and things like that.
Right.
We recently, more or less recently, we kind of started moving towards just pure cannabis terpenes, like cannabis derived rather than botanically derived.
Right.
And I think that in and of itself is kind of a big step for the market in general, that people are willing to kind of move towards that terpenes are available in that kind of quantity, because previously terpenes were crazy expensive just to get even a small little vial of it, let alone flavor thousands of carts.
Right.
So it's moving in the right direction for sure. Just generally, I would like to see a lot more terpene testing for sure.
Is that a change in technology, or do you think that there's an uptick in that in terms of how we're getting more access to terpenes, or or people that are opened up?
Yeah, definitely. So hearing the behind the scenes from testing labs and stuff, it's very interesting to hear how they're kind of evolving with the industry. It's not necessarily like pharmaceutical labs where they've been around forever. Cannabis testing is kind of slowly starting to take off and be like
brand new.
Yeah, well, and it's also just brand new to like corporations, people that are going to have enough money to fund it, versus these smaller labs that have been doing it out here forever. They kind of just have whatever prior information that they had from the 80s and the 90s kind of thing.
This is why it's important to continue to educate yourself and pay attention to what's going on, because these processes change all the time.
Yep.
And
regulations change all the time.
Right.
Technology changes too. People are constantly inventing new types of testing machinery. The lab that we use constantly, they were down on, I think it was their heavy metal testing for a little while, just because they were getting they were having a whole new, brand new operating machine involved. Just kind of totally changing the way that they're testing it. Obviously, it's testing the same things, but it's testing it in a different way where they're able to be more
efficient.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Can you talk more on the heavy metal free technology that Eureka uses in that sense? When we talk about, I am very green to the whole extraction. What goes into it, how it's done, and so that's part of y'all's claim.
Yeah. So as far as the actual extraction process, everything that we use is stainless steel, which does not leach. A lot of the times when you see metals in product, it's either because they're using like aluminum or something weird where they're extracting, or you'll even see it leaching from the cartridges. So say somebody's just buying, very cheap 30-cent cards.
Hardware.
The actual hardware itself, and whoever's making it is making it out of nickel or trace amounts of lead that can actually leach into the product. Thankfully, I'm proud to say here that I personally, since I started, have never failed a heavy metals test.
Yay! That's
in
so
the history of
important, you guys. You don't
so
understand. It's so
even
dangerous.
paying attention to the cart itself and the components that go into it. It's not just the machinery or how it's being processed, but it's also what it's sitting within.
Right.
That you guys are really paying attention to.
Absolutely, and that's one of the big things that they started. I think it was in 2020. They started testing instead of like previous to 2020, we would take a big dish of oil, we'd terp it, and then we would fill up little vials of that oil and submit it and say, hey, this is what we're going to fill these cartridges with. Now we actually have to fill the cartridges and send the testing in the actual cartridge. So the testing lab gets it, as the consumer would,
As the
consume
consumer would consume it, yeah.
So they were able to, test these carts and see, is your cart going to leach nickel or lead or whatever they're going to, Yeah, so it's that, and alone is another good step.
That's a great step in technology.
And like I said, that just happened in 2020.
Yeah.
So prior to 2020, who knows what anybody was really smoking at their carts.
Innovative and ahead of, you guys have been doing this for over a decade, and so
this is why, you guys, this is why it's so important to buy on the regulated market, things like vaporizer cartridges and things like that, because they are testing for these heavy metals and trying to produce the best product for the consumer, which includes a safe product, because if their product continues to get recalled, then they're not going to make any money on that. And then they're also, the company itself is going to have like the eye of the med, which is our enforcement division here, on them at all times. And the consumer is going to start getting wary of their product as well. So it doesn't benefit them to not have a safe and consumable product. Whereas when you talk about illicit market, which I do separate from the underground market, you guys know how I feel about these things, but in the illicit market, where they're providing these cartridges that they are just filling cartridges with somebody's home oil that has not been tested in cheap, hardware that has these metals that do leach into your product. This is what's making people sick. And this is what kind of got us targeted with that whole vaporizer scandal. When it was cannabis that was doing it, when it wasn't us, we weren't doing it. It was an illicit provider. Right. So this is really important for us. I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about language. I don't know if we're using the proper language still. I've been growing up in cannabis for just over a decade, and MJ as well. But we haven't been behind the counter for a while, so we might need some corrections in language. But when we say concentrate, we're generally talking about processed products like waxes and shatters, right, butters, distillates, resins, rosins.
It all falls under there. Is there any differentiation? That's
so is there better terminology?
Better terminology, I guess.
I mean, concentrate is kind of a blanket statement,
right? Kind of like sativa and indica. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
that's
not a bad. So my stance on it is concentrate is just when you take flour and you're literally just like process-wise concentrating it down, making it more potent, taking the things that you want in it and just making them higher ratios. Better tasting more terps, so it tastes better. Right. More THC, so you get more of an effect. Those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. And then so. In this realm of language, what types of concentrates do we provide here at Eureka, and also what is the difference between those concentrates?
So currently, we're like you said, we have our premium line for live resin. That is a little bit smaller on the scale of our distillate. As far as distillate, that, like you said, that basically goes in everything.
Yes.
We have distillate in the joints, obviously our distillate carts, syringes. More or less, I would say, they're definitely very different. So we make our distillate from CO2. We use CO2 and ethanol to extract. The ethanol is essentially just for refinement. The CO2 is actually what pulls all of the cannabinoids and stuff out. We just use the ethanol to sort of wash it, make sure we get all the fats and waxes, plant matter, lipids, stuff like that.
The unnecessary stuff.
Right. Because essentially at the end of the day, what we really want is, no flavor. We really just want pure THC. That way, on the back end, we can re-add our cannabis terpenes and we can flavor it the way that we want to. Right. But I mean, the goal is really to just get as much, as close to 100% THC as possible. We're going to take everything out. Like I said, including the terpenes, chlorophyll, gums, all of the like smaller particles that are kind of harder to get out in like a filter. We actually vaporize things and recondense them at specific temperatures to get, even, like I said, the chlorophyll and like molecules out rather than, bigger things like waxes that are, fatty stuff that you can see. Yeah. We're getting stuff that you can't see.
Gotcha.
You know.
And so what is the difference between a distillate and a live resin?
So a live resin is going to be extracted a lot differently. Distillate you can really get out of anything, any kind of an oil.
Right.
You have to, it's more or less going to be the same process of winterization, you know, just kind of refining it, like I said, taking all those things out. But with live resin, you're going to be using typically something that can pull more usable terpenes like butane or propane. And essentially you're going to be throwing that extract into a vacuum oven and purging it for, you know, hours and hours and hours at a really low temp. And then the idea is that the heavier THCA, I should say, you know, the sort of diamonds that you see,
Right.
those will actually start to dissipate and fall and crash out and stick to the bottom. And then you'll have all of your terpenes at the top.
Okay.
A lot of it is just the ability that CO2 has with its polarity to pull certain things. It's a lot different of an extraction process to pull terpenes than it is to pull cannabinoids.
Right.
It's complete, you know, we decarb all of our trim or all of our material in general on the front end before we extract it.
Right.
Essentially, we're just converting all the THCA into THC because when at our final product, you can eat distillate, right? Because it's already activated. You don't really have any of that THCA in there.
Right.
Diamonds are going to be the opposite. It's all THCA because you need to smoke
and then heat it up.
Right.
So the way that you'll get, hey, what's up, Colorado Grow? What's up, Carl? It's Colorado Grow Company. What's up? They're carrying Eureka right now too. They love it over there. So thank you guys for that. So with live resins, you don't cure the flower, right? It's
no,
flash, it's flash frozen.
Yeah, so you essentially just snip it straight from the ground, throw it into dry ice or some kind of a freezer, and then extract that frozen material, which is again like almost the total opposite of what we do with our CO2. We'll take our product and we'll decarb it and we'll do a bunch of pre-process to it after it's already been trimmed and you know all that stuff.
Awesome. And then because you mentioned two different processes, there's a lot of question about the cleanliness post extraction when you use butane or versus CO2, for example.
Absolutely.
So how do you feel about that and the cleanliness between like with the live resin versus the distillate?
One of my favorite talking points about this place in general is that we do use only CO2 for all of our distillate. With live resin, it's a lot easier because, like I said, you're leaving it in that vacuum oven for weeks.
Right.
Well, I mean, up to like 2 weeks even if you have a really big batch or something like that. With the distillate, you kind of want to get it as quick as you can because the better of a job that I do making that pure, it's going to oxidize. So just from light and from oxygen, it'll cause a little bit of discoloration. It doesn't actually affect the product or the taste or anything like that, but it's not pretty to look at. And the goal is really to kind of
have that nice.
Have it. You know, we're pretty much from the moment we get it out of the machine, we just kind of want to get it into a cartridge and into a store.
Right.
Obviously, after we test it and everything. Obviously. But I mean, with live resin, you can kind of take your time with it. You can purge it. You can let it sit in that vacuum oven, bubble all that butane out. And again, you are still testing for residual solvents, so you can see if there is any butane left in it before you sell it. But, you know, the detectable limits, who's to say that because it's not reportable doesn't mean that it's not in there.
Right.
And they even have, in the testing, they'll have a section for that where it says, you know, you had this or that, and it'll be like this many parts per million, not detected, or like basically they can't put a number to it. So it's in there, but it's like 4 parts per billion.
So it's so minuscule minor that.
But at a certain point, you know, you have to kind of be nitpicky about it. If you're putting it into your body, especially if you're an everyday smoker, or you know, multiple times a day even, you're going to be taking 4 parts per billion of butane every time that you hit. Because there is that small amount that will be a pass, but it is in there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So be careful with things like that. But that is how the process works. And for the most part, it's a relatively clean process, but there are detectable parts in there that are by I mean, they're legal detectable parts, which I don't know how you feel about that because we don't really always trust the government. So
Yeah. I mean, you're trusting testing labs too.
Right,
Yes,
right.
exactly. And then, well, we've talked about that, how like in Colorado and in other states too, I think California is doing this, where their enforcement divisions are starting to enforce the labs now too. So we're seeing them go into places where they have already tested product and saying, hey, I want you to test this in my lab, the lab that I've chosen, right? So that we have like checks and balances on those labs as well. Because what we don't want and what we have seen is labs agreeing on testing results for payment. And so we want to avoid that at all costs. We don't do that here. By the way.
No.
It was, you know, that's where the conversation went, but that's not what we do here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you wanted to ask about the syringes.
Yeah. So the distillate syringe that's on the Colorado product line. So many questions. Just what do you do with it? How is this? How is it utilized?
So they're very versatile. Typically, in my own experience with them, I would either dab them straight out of the syringe, like, you know, because it's glass, right?
Right.
So you can heat your nail up, and you can just kind of drop the syringe right in, let the glass heat up in your nail, and then you can just squirt it out.
Yes, it's like a convenience.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Okay.
Well, plus, I mean, it's a nice little dab. It's not super aggressive. It tastes better than, you know, a lot of the things that you're going to be smoking. If you're smoking wax or anything like that, you know, obviously our terpene infused fruit line is going to be very tasty compared to your $20 PHO wax.
Right.
You know, not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know.
So what happens if we're not using it with a heated device? So a lot of people have a problem getting the distillate out of the syringe.
Yeah.
When we're talking about syringes, you guys, no needles attached. Well, I take that back a little bit. There's like, sometimes they come with like a small needle.
It's like an aperture.
Yeah.
The idea with that, what I mean with the versatility is you can attach that little needle tip on there, heat your syringe up, and then if you have an empty cartridge, you can just pop the top off of your cartridge. And then squirt it right in, and then you have a brand new refilled cartridge.
Okay, so I can refill my cartridge that I have.
Yeah. If you have if you have like a strawberry lemonade gram cart, and you run out of it, and you can just go buy a strawberry lemonade,
or any flavor,
or anything, exactly,
and refill it.
Yeah.
Which is it's a really great selling point.
We may have to do a little how-to. I had to have her show me how to do the battery charging.
5, 4, 3, 2,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Again, I'm a flower
5-button
girl.
press turns it on and off. There are 4 heat settings. 3-button press changes the heat settings. Sometimes if you keep it on the lowest heat setting, which you should, because it's best for cannabinoids and terpenes, it's not a big enough hit. So a 2-button press will preheat your device and your oil, and a 1-button press, hold and inhale to smoke it. That's how you use those mod batteries.
Yes, for Eureka, and it's great. And so now I know, because I did just actually blow through my cartridge, so I need to.
Yeah.
So as far as like consumer safety, I don't know if we're really allowed to tell people that they can eat the distillate.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's been tested. It is activated.
What I will say is that it's very dangerous, because if you do,
because
if you think about it, when you're eating 100 milligram edible, and you really just get kind of floored from it, those gram syringes have 1,000 milligrams in them.
Exactly.
So if you put the whole syringe into a pasta dish or something, and just have a little bit.
You're gonna sleep.
You're not gonna have as much fun as you would if you did. So just in smaller portions.
Yes.
Definitely, they're a lot of fun. I used to do that a lot when I first kind of got introduced to the syringe in general. Just because, like I said, it is activated, so you can just squirt a little dab onto a brownie or a cookie or something, eat it. Very small amount.
Yeah. Generally speaking, you know how we feel about it when we talk. It's West Coast 420. You guys light them if you got them. We can't right now, but we're smoking in
our heads
with you.
Always.
So with the syringe, be careful. You can use it in your coffee. Exactly. Use small amounts. It's going to generally speaking, affect you like an edible would affect you. So it has a process to go through. It could take up to 2 hours to activate. It could be active for up to 4 to 8 hours, so up to 8 hours or more. I've seen people be high the next day, y'all.
They actually, some people will make their edibles with distillate. Essentially, they'll just take.
I feel
their
like it's a
gum
better
concoction
idea.
and then,
Honestly, you guys.
It's easier to dose. You know
it's
exactly
easier to
what's in it.
dose. Yeah, exactly, and flavor.
Yep.
Because they've already taken the chlorophyll out for you and have already activated the oil. It's already active, so you just got to mix it into your mixture and pop it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically flavorless. It's a nice and. On the point of not being able to get the oil out, the best way, in my experience, is to use hot water. You can even just stick it right underneath the sink, make sure it's closed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The best way, in my experience, is to stick it under my thigh while I'm having a conversation.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
While you're smoking your blunt, and then you'll remember it.
Rub it between your hands like this will help. Also, just any heat is honestly going to loosen up that oil. And get it going. But yeah, hot water. Put it in. You can put it in like a boiling bag. Even
they are glass, so make sure you take the plastic tip off. But you can heat it with a torch on a lower heat setting.
He said, "I sit on it too." It's perfect. It's the perfect way. Did we have? I don't want to lose your attention before we ask all of our questions. But I know you've had a long day too, so we don't want to keep you forever. So I don't know, because you work here in Colorado. I don't know if you can speak to this, but do you know how the different regulations in the different states affect how you produce concentrates in different states?
Oh, well, I mean, even in Colorado, it's different in Denver than it is in Pueblo.
Correct.
I mean, that changes as far as legislation in general. You can cross, a county line and be in a different legislation with different regulations. Right. I would say Denver, from my experience and just hearing what other people talk about, Denver is a lot more strict with, like the city of Denver is more strict with letting people use butane and, blow themselves up.
Yeah. Right.
Basically.
It's not recommended for your home, y'all.
Yeah.
And I would say Colorado in general, even though we are used as like an example state, I wouldn't use us as an example at all. Maybe for your base regulations, but we're not advanced in cannabis by any means.
I mean, California definitely has, just as far as testing regulations go, I know California is a lot more strict. I'm sure, if we had been doing it out here for as long as they'd been doing it in California, it might be,
maybe a little bit more.
Right.
I mean, they didn't even start testing regulations for medicinal till well after adult use was in place, and adult use was required to do testing, but then medical wasn't. It was such a weird thing because I worked in the medical market and you were doing clinics at the time too. And it was such a weird thing because we're like, this is medicine. Yeah.
It was backwards. And then, what we are seeing is, regulations being made. So we're outpricing our capability, like the fees to do this.
That affects you guys, the new fee scheduling and.
Oh, I mean, we try to roll with the punches. That's something that unfortunately you kind of just have to, dig your heels in the dirt and put up with. And most of the time, I agree with it. It's, I'm more for more regulations.
Yeah, for sure. As far as testing is concerned, I think
absolutely.
Yeah, testing regulations we need more of. Consumer regulations we need less of.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Of course. On the production side,
less fees,
more regulations for sure.
And taxes on those things.
And less like like in my city, I know what he's saying about like a different city having different regulations. It's true. Some of these cities have moratoriums across the board on cannabis, so nobody can buy anything there. Some of them have moratoriums on concentrate. Some of them have moratorium, just on the
some of them have moratoriums on medical. I don't
it doesn't make use. So that happens in my town every time I live in a tourist town, and so every time we need more money, which is like all the time, if we don't have a good tourist season, gas prices are hiked up right now. We had like a really weak winter, so the water's going to be really low this year. It's just like there's a whole lot of things that could cause a bad tourist season, and then when that happens, then the city council gets together and goes, let's put a new tax on cannabis.
Let's bring
Like,
some
aren't
money
there
in
other
from-
businesses in the city that we can tax everybody across the board? Don't we already pay like 23 to 25%, in most places? So yeah, I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But well, I feel like we asked you
I feel like we did cover all of
the questions that we had. We were like, we're probably going to ask you some of these, but not all of these when we got all of them through.
Heck yeah.
You're a great guest.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank
Sorry
you.
if I was not able to answer anything better.
No,
No,
you
this was
answered everything
amazing.
perfectly.
Awesome.
We'll
Awesome. I like to hear
definitely keep our eyes out for new products and new innovations from you guys.
There are new products coming.
You
Okay.
know,
I
I'm
don't know.
excited.
I don't think
and
we can talk about
Oh, no.
anything right now.
I'm just an out
There
there
are.
knowing that
I have
guys
heard
have
from
amazing
little
products.
birdies
Yeah.
around
In the
here
works.
in the works that there are new innovations coming from Eureka Vapor and Eureka Cure. And I'm super excited to see them. If you are in Colorado or California and soon in Michigan, and your dispensaries do not carry Eureka products, ask them why. Give us a call. We'll be happy to get a sales rep out to that store and find out why they're not carrying Eureka, because they should be. Absolutely. You can, isn't the website loyaltotheoil.com, right?
Ooh,
I want to say the website's loyaltotheoil.com. I'm gonna go with that.
I don't internet very well.
If I need correction, I'll correct it on the next show, which is on 420, which we're going to be at the Eureka party. Queen Kitty's going to be at the Eureka party. So definitely join us on 420. We're going to do a little pregame before the party starts and chit chat with you guys. But yeah, if you guys want any Eureka swag, check out Loyal to the Oil. If that doesn't work, hit me up in Discord. I'll get you the right web address, but I'm pretty sure that's it. Loyal to the Oil. You can get like a light up tray. There's all kinds of cool stuff, cool t-shirts,
I
cool.
think if you even just do, I think I found it by going to Eureka Vapor, Eureka Cure. Like,
Yeah.
I was able to Google and find.
I'm
So
sure he has
they-
all the domains.
Yes,
locked down.
and the trademarks and the all of the things.
All
Like
of the
I was like,
things.
yep, all there.
He's a very smart businessman,
Yes.
for sure.
So awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jacob, for
Thank you
coming
for having me
through.
on.
We
Absolutely.
appreciate you. Yeah, you guys check out the Eureka Vapor website. And again, if your dispensary is not carrying Eureka Vapor, ask them why and get a sales rep out there and get them some samples and stuff. With that said, we are going to wrap it up. We're going to go smoke our 420 blunts after the show. One after the other, in our King Palms. Guys, don't forget that King Palm code. Go ahead and hit that. There it is. KP TCCP APR 15. If you guys want 15% off of King Palms, join us at 4:20 Mountain Standard Time on 4:20 for our 4:20 show, where we're going to be prepping for a party with Eureka. Thanks for joining. Oh yeah, if you guys want to find us, check us out on solo.to/Cannabis Closet 420. For those of you guys watching on Twitch and YouTube, sorry for the delay. We apologize, and we will see you on Wednesday. We love you guys. Happy 420 prep. Stay lifted, everybody. Oh, and be nice to yourselves.
Oh yes, cultivate love.
Okay. Stay lifted, everybody.